Yeah, talk to me a little bit about how you think about like book criticism and feedback. Because the reason I ask is because when you are, talking about books that are already not highlighted, and
Mm.
then you're like, how do you think about it? Like, do you are is it does it get challenging to say like, all right, this book just wasn't good, or kind of in that space? Because I think kind of to your point where it's like, all right, this book doesn't get a lot of shine, but then also if I'm just not, when it comes to negative criticism, I guess I'm just curious how you think about that as a creator, especially with your platform.
Yeah, I would have to be honest and say I used to be one of those folks that would say like, I only post books that I'm really excited about, and that I really love. And I think my thoughts behind that have kind of evolved. And I think that because of good friends like Tracy, you had her on, I think yesterday, Tracy from the Stacks podcast. And I love her motto, which is just like talking shit about books is good for books. And I think she's absolutely right. I think the more you think about it, the more like you're really being thoughtful and dissecting something when you're being critical of it, because you're not just, and it's not to say you can't do that as well when you love a book, because I think that, I've seen some really great book reviews that are positive, and I love the way that people can review a book with that level of positivity and detail. But criticism really gets into the nitty gritty too, of like what it was that necessarily might not have worked for a book, but also is indicative of a bigger problem within a genre or within like um, publishing. I think we think about, I can even think about it now, and I can't say that there's a specific book I have in mind, but at least with Latina literature, from my understanding, from what I've heard from other authors, is that there is a specific book that, publishing wants or prefers Latina writers to write in, and then that's that American Dirt book. Those books that like make readers feel good about themselves and feel you know, like bigger problems like immigration and like, you know, um, being marginalized, or xenophobia are things that they're not involved in, that they're not part of, right? That it's just an outsider's problem. And unfortunately, yeah, there might be those instances where an author does decide to write towards that, maybe because they want to be able to publish a book, or maybe because they don't have an option and an editor is just like, you sold it, you signed something and you said you wanted it published, so we're going to have you edit this the way that we want you to have it edited. So again, I think that criticism could unfold that, or there could be that one book that is just indicative of a pattern of other books that maybe have the same editor, and it's like, wait a minute, there's a problem here. I don't know. I think criticism is really important for books. I think that I would love, my goal is to be more critical of books, regardless of who they're written by or who they're
Yeah.
written by. Yeah.
In the same way we are with like, book or with art or movies too. Because if you see a
Yeah.
movie and you're like, I don't like this movie, you still go tell 10 people and they're like, oh, and then now they're like, well, you said this one part and I actually do like that. So I went and watched it. You said it was so bad. I actually went and spent the time to go watch it. So I think there is that level of criticism and negativity that when you do, if you, especially when you're talking about it in a critical way, you're explaining it in depth, people are like, okay, I see what Lupita's getting at. Now I'm interested in reading this book or not. As we kind of transition into read out, one thing we really do enjoy is like when content creators meet up in person. And one of the things I thought was really cool is that you all got to meet Oprah. So can you kind of talk about that experience and just meeting content creators, but also meeting Oprah, who is as big as she is in books as well.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It was wild. I think what was really cool about that was, again, what you just said, meeting other creators. And so I will say that the event was, I think, I'm not sure. who was on the guest list, but my understanding that a lot of the creators there were New York-based creators. And so I thought that it was just really cool to be able to meet the New York-based creators that I hadn't met before. And meeting Oprah herself was something. It was like, I think I was more in awe of, um, her not her influence, but her presence. Um, it's something that I think it's not that it didn't translate for me online before, but the power of her presence, the way that you don't see people hop online all the time and, like, give testimony to Oprah and what she's done and how she's helped other people's lives just being who she is. But when we were in that room, it was like people just wanted their chance to, like, give testimony to what it means, like, who she is to them and what it is that they've done in their lives, and what it is that her presence and just her existing as a person has done, and I think that, that was mind-blowing. I was like, "Wow," like, it's not that I didn't think like, "Whoa, Oprah," it was just like, she meant something more, I don't know if that
Yeah,
I don't know. It was just to be able to hear people's stories was like,
that's awesome.
damn. I was like shaking and like, you're crying with people and you're like, it's not my story, but damn, like, I thought that was really like goosebumps.
That's awesome. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.